to zoom, maybe you have to look at another picture, or I mean, I have some pictures, but I have them on my phone. Yeah, maybe. Let me see. Let me see. You're very fast with your searching. Now that's another castle already. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, there's some huge stones up there, and I think they date uh, back with the same date with the Mykonos.
Sorry,
Exact. Yeah.
interesting star for it. So there's that.
Yeah. Like on the left, you still can see it. It's on the very left where the little tower is,
Hmm.
and exactly that's where your mouse is. Yeah. These two walls over there, they're like very old. At the very bottom, they have huge stones, and then they were building upon them afterwards.
Mm.
Yeah, it's all I can say. I just went there a couple of times by car. It's a nice way to go up, and yeah, this castle looks tired. It has gone through lots of trouble. Back in
Interesting.
the days when I was a child and going to school, I've heard in the news that they caught people doing their satanic rituals and stuff.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it when I was young and I'm going in the school. I still remember it, and I remember it for a reason. Like I still have it in my brain. So I went there because I was quite curious of the energy of the place, and it's amazing. And in the very middle of it, if you look at this very center in the middle of the place, there's a little hole, and you can look inside the mountain from there. They have a little hole exactly like this. Some people say they would store water there. Some others say they were living there or whatever. I mean, I don't think you can really zoom, but yeah.
I'm trying here. Where to look exactly? Like
At
down,
the very center of the castle.
like somewhere in here.
Yes, exactly. But the pictures are not good enough. If you see a line in the middle, do you see this line in the middle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that path there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a path. There's a hole in there, and in there it's like a perfect,
Wow.
um, very slick wall space, like there was water in there for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, no, the castle looks great. It's huge. It's quite high, and the next castle I'm visiting is the Castle of Corinth. And that's very up high in the mountains.
Is this the right one?
No, maybe. Well, maybe if you know another picture that doesn't, maybe scroll down. I think that's the one. Not sure. Yeah, it's quite big.
Acro Corinth, overlooking the city of Corinth. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Where is this
yeah.
at?
That's yeah. It looks legit. That's the next place I'll be visiting in Corinthos.
Wow. So what do you think about? See, basically, you're saying that they've rebuilt smaller stones on top of these larger stones.
Yeah, that would happen. Like, of course, generations change, and then they're building upon the castle. Like, new guys are having the ownership of the castle. Then they're building it. I grew up in the city of Nafplio, and then you have if you type Palamidi Nafplio, and then Palamidi with I, not with E, with I, both with I. Also the very last E, it's an I.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. So we have lots of castles here. Exactly. That's where I grew up, and I was like, we have 999 steps to go up there,
Wow.
and it's quite a thing to climb up the steps. It's so beautiful. Um, and I'm like 100% sure almost that the mountain is hollow. I mean, it looks amazing, and like I would love to figure out one day that we've found some rooms in or some spaces in the mountain. It looks amazing.
Totally, like caverns and everything. It seems like there has
Yeah,
to be.
I
Must
grew
be
I
there.
grew I grew up next to that very castle. Exactly. Yeah, that's my hometown.
Well, yeah. So what's the deal? Why are they building this town next to? I mean, what's the whole point, right? What's the They're always arguing, I guess, that this is high ground for fortification.
And unfortunately, I'm only I only have only the alternative history in my brain. The history from school, it's almost deleted.
Good job. Yeah, that takes a little work.
I've forgotten almost everything I've learned in school, and since then never reviewed it or stuff. I just barely remember what these things were about. Like, of course, I remember the names of the heroes living there and being held there because there were also jails in there for the heroes of the Greek Revolution.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Of
and
course.
then exactly, yeah, the whole city is full of statues of the Greek Revolution heroes,
Wow.
and they,
The
yeah,
new
they
mythology.
the tour exactly that's for the whole planet actually. They
Yeah,
wrote
but for Greece, it would have been funny.
they wrote. I've been thinking about that the last. I was living in Austria for 19 years, and now I'm in Greece again, and I've rediscovered the world by studying the big internet and figuring out about the lies that we've been told about our history. But I don't know again what's true because we've just been watching screens and Google, right? Um,
A lot of people, yeah.
that's all we have. We have internet, and then we have some fantastic heroes of the internet coming out and saying, "Hey guys, that's the truth, or that's how it is now, and that's what we find out." And then we have to scratch our heads and say, "Ah, maybe it's not like I've learned in the school." Maybe.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting in Croatia and Montenegro and it's like North Macedonia. I forget wherever Kotor is, which one of those. But there's another, you'll find castles along the sloped hill, kind of similarly associated with the Janissaries and the Ottomans historically, or
Well,
against whoever.
the only thing that makes sense with big castles is giants.
Yeah. So
Were
what's the
giants running around. So why build so high walls for us? What for? I mean, they were bigger creatures back then, and they were for sure um, holding them a bit back. So the big walls, exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, what tell us more. I was going to ask you about that. Tell us more about what you think about giants because this is something that you're not the first person from Greece I've talked to who believes in or has talked about giants as being a major thing.
Yeah,
And if you walk around there,
yeah, believing is a thing. I just listening to stories. I find them very interesting, and I like to discuss about it. I don't want to say that I believe in any of all that stuff because I cannot prove it or I cannot. But I just hear it. Some people go to the cinema. I like to watch that stuff. I've been saying that phrase for many years now. I like to see it as an amusement, like talk about all that stuff and
yeah, fair enough. But just the idea though of giants, I mean, there's a lot of ruins that if you walk around and you look at the immensity of how big these things are and how big the stones are, it doesn't, this idea that it's something. What's the reason why you're saying it's giants, right? What's the story?
well, the size of it. Even if you go in Athens and you look at the big columns of every temple, the temple of Zeus or the temple of Apollo or the Poseidon temple, the stones are so huge and the steps are so huge. It makes no sense with normal humans to go up the steps or down.
Yeah,
Who
but
are
like,
these
let's
things
say,
made for? It's the
let's
first thing I come. Even if you have no clue about all this alternative history, you go there and you're like, oh, wait. You say, wow, what's that? What? in huge blocks of marmor. And then I went to, I mean, I haven't been around the world, but I have been to the British Museum, and I have to been to the Vienna Museum, and I've been I have been there after my research on the alternative history, especially looking at Graham Hancock and Michael Tellinger and who else? Yeah, and the Zachariah Sitchin stuff. After studying all that stuff and then visiting some ancient monuments, uh, I've also studied a bit electronics, and I know what's a laser and a laser cut and creating laser things. I've looked all the tomes and Egyptian writings and all that stuff, and I was thinking that could have been done from just a laser cut. It looks so obvious to me, because I've used all this stuff and I've seen so much, and I can almost say, oh, that's a good quality of laser they have. So
But
it's so
are there
obvious.
myths? Are there myths that you can think of that like are about? I mean, there are like giants and Odysseus, right? Like Cyclopses and things like that. So, can you think of stories that would relate to this? Because this is like Attack on Titan. This idea. I mean, you got
I can
elephants.
only I can only I can only compare the Greek mythology and the translations of the Sumerian records that I have, like in my mind at the moment, that they say there were 12 gods, and then the alternative history that we deal with every day in YouTube about the Anunnaki stuff. They say that there were 12 officers from the space that came here and took over Earth and did their jobs here, picking up the gold. And it's very similar to the 12 gods stuff. It's just not limited to Greece, because the Greek
Right, the 12
mythology,
root
it's
races or
it's all
something.
around
12
Greece,
masterpieces, yeah.
exactly. And then you take the Sumerian gods, the Egyptian gods, and the Mayan gods, and all that stuff, that they all carry pyramids and skulls with long heads and all that stuff. And you say, uh, every culture has similar stuff. Every culture has pyramids, floods. Every culture has similar architecture and technologies, which means everything is summed up to Greece. And in Greece, they wrote a little roman, they wrote a little movie, like Hollywood Part One. So yeah, today we have the modern Hollywood
What do you
movies
think?
and stuff. I wanted I was thinking something to tell you about today, about movies. And I would like to ask you, what happens in every movie when the good and evil fights, and at the end, what's always the case? What do you always hear when the movie ends?
I mean, like the good wins. Is that
Yeah, at the
right?
end, the good wins, right? I
In those
find that
movies.
such a bad programming they do to us. So we have to wait till the end. They will be kicking our butt the whole time, but at the end we will win. But who cares after? Because it's the end anyway. So this is such a freaking bad programming they do to us, because everybody's bored and they go watch movies, you
I
know?
think there's also like the other kind, like that's like the hero's epic or something. Like there's several versions, right? There's like the victim story. What's the one? Okay. Also, just what is like TV? Because TV is where they're in a situational comedy, which is a drama in disguise. And over the years, they're conflicted and inflicted with suffering that happens to them that's trying to destroy their stability and stasis, but they're constantly returning to their stasis by solving those problems. You know what I mean? Rather than like achieving some sort of
Exactly. Did you notice what happened to you right now?
what?
You just told me a story.
Yeah,
And
like
then,
Beowulf.
yeah, and then at the end, the good will win. I'd like to stop that. I'd like
Well,
to
it's not
stop
necessarily
just.
that the good wins, right? Like it's that
Yeah, no, it's the story. That's
no, the
what.
protagonist often has been good, but if you think about it, American media especially is no longer about good protagonists who are morally good.
Yeah,
Like most stories are about
yes.
anti-heroes who are amoral, who are people find American stories more interesting for some reason, and I don't know why, but it's this idea of being in a rat race in a maze, and the characters have no ethic, so they're playing like what's it called, like the end game theory, and they're driven by their own vices, their own psychotic in interests. And they see whether or not they succeed based on other people trying to succeed, and they're like attacking each other, right?
The point is, they are telling us their story, and that's what I want to stop. Because we don't need stories, we don't need movies, so that we hear at the end that the good always wins. Because they are
uh,
making just fun of us. They are telling
right,
us their stories, and at the end they say, "Oh, someone will come and save you. So no worries. At the end, everything will be fine, and the good will win." So this is, if you really think about it, this is a very good and bad programming for you. This is a very good job what they do, and very bad for us, because we grow up like this. We watch cartoons, and we watch what happens. The plot. Like everything goes like a pyramid style. Everything starts, then escalates, and then at the end the good wins. I don't want the
right,
good that wins at the end. I want to win now. I
yeah,
don't care anymore about all their stuff that they've been programming humanity by selling us little stories. I had like also lots of movies that I grew up with. I've stopped watching TV since 2005, and I've been doing experimental electronics and study a bit electronics myself, and I figured out that the TV is actually the Trojan horse. If you know the story about the Trojan horse.
right, yeah. So you feel like it's coming in, it's like a gift that comes into your life
It
to
comes into your life, and then you think it's something. It's a shiny prison. You have it home. It shines. It's beautiful. It's a horse. And then when you go to sleep, yeah, because that's exactly how the TV works. It works very similar to the story, because everybody goes to sleep, and the soldiers go out of the body of the horse, and then they conquer the castle. And the TV does the same thing. It has 4 cycles per second, and it puts your brain in the same brain waves that you have when you sleep. So it really programs your brain, no matter what screen you're looking at. That's the hertz, the cycle per second that a screen has, especially the new smart TVs and smartphones. I'm not telling you anything new. It's quite an old thing. They compare it to cocaine. It's very addictive.
right.
Looking at the screen and you feel ah all the time.
Yeah, hence all of these like bubble crushy games and all that they're trying to, get people more and more addicted to.
Yeah, my glasses that I'm wearing are just for screen protection glasses. I'm not having a eyesight problem.
Oh, do you have those yellow things? I don't have those right here, but I have them somewhere. I haven't worn those in a while, but those are useful. It's true. I forgot about this.
Before we continue on anything scholarly or scientific, I'd like to bring up 2 pop culture references, just in terms of to show, history or not. So the one thing is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which maybe you're familiar with or not. I played it a little bit a few years back. It's basically Assassin's Creed, which, the backstory itself is pretty crazy. I don't even understand it so well, because it has to do with genetics also, and someone traveling up and down the supposed timelines. And the fun thing about Assassin's Creed Odyssey is just that they basically supposedly show you even while a new temple is being built and stuff like that. And it's just like the Disney World Park version of the modern version of the history of Greece, supposedly. And it was just incredibly funny to play that for a bit and then see and also realize, because most people, I mean, anywhere, but maybe especially in the US, don't pay attention to school anyhow. And then what will they learn about Greece? How would they learn about it? Well, by playing such a game, which of course is feeding them the mainstream narrative, although it did include also something about Atlantis. And I think you meet, I'm not sure if you meet Hermes Trismegistus, but something along those lines. Anyhow, that's the one thing. And the other thing comes up again and again is Attack on Titan, simply because I had never heard the idea that the Starforts could be used as a protection against giants. So of course that idea immediately came to my mind. Yeah, I didn't know that this was a common idea, or that this appears in the Sumerian text or somewhere. Or does anyone explicitly state anywhere what the Starforts are supposed to be? Is there any?
Well, I mean, like a major
lore?
reason for giant walls is elephants, amongst other things. Not like it's. I mean, I don't know how surprising that is, because not everywhere had elephant attacks, because they anticipated this, and there were even the first weapon of mass destruction that they had, like a treatise. They're like, look, guys, all right, no elephants, right? Like, come on, like we don't need to bring elephants into this. But that ended up not working out. Like the Romans cheated, brought elephants anyway, and so that was the deciding factor, was elephants. So people wanted to have walls that could defend against elephants, as well as like catapults and those things where you can like climb up. You've seen Lord of the Rings. There's all kinds of ways to get over tall walls.
Yeah, that must be the kind of army that they were defending against. Yeah,
That's the hope, right?
But even though then, just recently, 13th Monkey showed me his Stafford map, whom I hope to interview soon. There is at least one video also on your channel with 13th Monkey, looking at all the star maps.
At least
Yes,
one.
at least one. Because there's even apparently somewhere in the middle of the ocean on a tiny island. Of course, then again, the question is how much of the water was submerged, maybe recently, just like with the island of California, or not, or whatever. But yeah, there's too many questions for me to say anything useful about it, unfortunately.
No,
unless except the idea that it looks nice, even from above, cymatic pattern.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, the whole idea that like your worst scenario is other people is kind of a bummer, and so that's always been. I've kind of hoped that we'd find more and more proof to the opposite of that, and there is evidence that it's more been a trade network, less of a resource scarcity situation until later. A lot of people used to think it was like, oh, okay, everything started from trying to have a military force, so you build forts, but realistically that happens later when things are destroyed and there's a disruption of trade. At that point, then you have a militarization. But before that, if there's just non-scarcity and people are trading in like the smallest of circumstances, then mostly there's a buildup of communal or intercommunal trade systems. So what do you expect to see more likely? Like a star fort that's made to like defend against elephants or giants or whatever, or a star fort that's made for trade, communication, some sort of like community purpose. Like a lot of these star forts are very close to water. I think, George, you were saying that this is near the coast, and also is there like freshwater sources near this? Yeah, right. So how's that work? Are there places that, because when I was in those regions, some of those places used to have like water wheels, and maybe they've been like destroyed since then, but can you imagine that these were?
They have big tanks of water there, so you can see also behind the walls that there are some huge spaces, and also underneath the earth they had some huge places to put water in. I mean, that's the first way to explain big tanks of water underneath the earth.
So reservoir, like ancient reservoirs, essentially, for if it gets too hot, like, or something, or.
I mean, you would store things underneath the earth like back in the times. It's nothing new. It's just that they had different technologies to do it at that time with the canalization. We don't know how that. We just speculate how it happened today. I'm not an expert at all. It's just that I feel I see some spaces, and then the walls look like there has been water living there. So this is the only thing that I can see without being an expert at all. Just a normal person.
So
Yeah.
just to contribute one idea, it seems that, as we know, underneath many churches, and I guess I still don't know the delineation between churches and star forts. That maybe, oh well, oftentimes you have a star fort and inside you have the church type buildings. So question number one would be, when were the towers and so on built, and maybe were some of them even just recently built on top? Then you have all these underground water reservoirs, commonly called cisterns, where yes, in many cases you can still kind of see the walls look strange. Maybe now it's emptied out, but it's well imaginable. And supposedly, according to David Ewing Jr., at least, this is also written in the Quran, that they mention that, if I understand this right, King Solomon was building these, and it had something to do with water and with boiling water. Then you have the towers. Question again, when were they closed up, or when was the second story built? So could this be something like water boiling nuclear power plant type situation, which I of course would find incredibly crazy, because today they make everyone crazy and scared and insane about it, and they have these ugly buildings. Okay, maybe they decorated them and put on a new facade, but still these old brick type buildings or whatever they are, they still look nicer than the modern power plants, I think. So that's the one thing. But then the other thing, which maybe is somewhat in opposition to it or not, is the question of water structuring, and especially the whole question of the resonance thing. When people then say, oh, I look at the tower, it looks like a resonator and this and that capacitor. So I would kind of like see the connection somewhere between water, heat, and some form of cymatics or electricity or frequency resonance. But I
You can
don't know exactly how these would intersect.
you can check at Delphi where the Oracle is. You see stuff like that still there.
Stuff like what?
Like some spirals coming out of the earth in bronze.
I'm trying to
Like
find
they're
yeah.
they're still there. Yeah.
I don't know if this is not the right picture, but yeah, Oracle of Delphi, because there's like vapors coming out of the earth, you know, like in these witches would get to.
Just write
Oh, so
Apollo temple.
So the huge underground cisterns were actually just for brewing the right concoction, and then you open the hatches and everyone goes psychedelic.
Yeah, like the vapors, the natural earth gases.
Yeah, there. The left picture. Just pick up exactly. Pick up this picture and zoom in if you can. It's behind of one of the walls. There is something there, but it's behind of one of the last walls. There is something like a spiral coming out of the. Maybe we'll find it on another picture. Yeah, maybe. Okay, just go a little bit further down again.
I was just gonna look for spiral really quickly, but okay, yeah, go down further.
Yeah, above this man, the Oracle of Delphi, above this man.
Oh, dude, I just moved the thing right here. You saw something?
Yeah, just this picture on the left again. Yeah,
this one.
Okay. Yeah, pick this one up, and maybe you can see it there. Zoom in. No, it's not there. What have they done with it? I mean, I made a picture of it. It's not in the internet. That's a funny thing now.
Your picture. They probably photoshopped it out of it.
Or they just moved it. You know,
very possible, because I was there a few months ago and there was a very huge thing over there. It's. I mean, can you zoom out a bit? Maybe it's a little bit left or right, and I can't see. That's weird. Yeah, exactly. No, I'll have a look in my pictures, and I'll send it to you in a minute.
So what was it supposed to be? It was a spiral thing?
Yeah, that has for sure something to do with electrical current, because it has a metal coating. I would say it's a bronze coating or something that it has.
But how old did it look like? Did it seem like it was maybe placed there the last 100-200 years, or did it look 2,000 years old, or
Excuse me, I have to apologize. I have no clue.
didn't you have your very accurate carbon dating device with you?
No, but
Joke-
today
joke
maybe
intended.
it's possible with the smartphone technology. Like you can scan the leaves, and they can tell you what kind of plant you have in front of you. Maybe you can
Well, I'm
scan.
sure the smartphone would give you an answer, but I don't think it's the answer that we're looking for.
Maybe.
Probably just have to ask the oracles of Delphi because they know everything, right?
Well, you can connect to them if you go there and you're a little bit high.
I
Supposedly.
thought that was like literally the point. It's like you go there and then the gases from the earth, it's like you don't, it's just being there is the whole point. It's supposed to be like,
I went there. It was fascinating, but I did not feel any super duper power there. I think it's the destruction over there is big. Lots of things have been destroyed. You just see the ruins, and I mean, you feel amazing, and the view is amazing, but they have for sure destroyed all the functional things there, because that was this is a point on the earth that has great energy, and they were using with their tools, and I can imagine that they don't want that anymore. But if you're sensitive enough, you can for sure feel something. I felt amazing, but that's it.
You're muted, Andreas.
oh, I actually just said, what do you think, Raph?
Oh, yeah. So it makes me think of the Bosnian pyramids. I don't know. Did you get up to the Bosnian pyramids, Andreas? Did you visit there?
Yeah.
And all right, I'm sorry. I've seen your interview with Dr. Simir, and I'm like, have you been there, Andreas? So, but what I didn't really get yet from you, maybe you just briefly want to say, how did you feel when you went there? Overground, underground, just your impressions briefly.
I generally felt really good. So I was with my brother and my dad, and I think it's funny because I just watched some YouTuber who has like some pseudo science, pseudo archaeology like series, and I was like, oh my word. And then, like, the worst thing was he was like showing his presentation like to students. I was like, oh man, because like imagine you're a student and you're like paying to believe this crap, and so someone's telling you like, oh yeah, like, don't worry, you're paying the right people, here you go, this is good for you. Like, it was like, oh, this is painful to watch this thing, because I remember thinking by accident, 'cause I'm pretty open-minded generally, I think people would think if they know me, but even I was like, I don't know, like, it probably wasn't real, like, it's probably just nonsense. My brother definitely wasn't gonna think it was real. My dad didn't care. But then we're going like, yeah, we should look into this thing because it sounds kind of cool. Like, because, there's things like that where we're from. In Santa Cruz, we have this thing called the Mystery Spot, which is just like, it's a place built on a hill so that it looks like a ball rolls uphill when it's kind of not rolling uphill. It's like just the way that the building's built. And it's this illusion thing for like 19th century American tourists to like stop by or whatever. We thought it would be like that. But then we get to see the thing. The other thing is like, well, maybe there's something about it, but obviously not everyone, like, the jury's still out, right? Like, maybe, but jury's still out. Then you get there and you see it. My brother and my dad were driving in. It's like, what? It's like this huge freaking, objectively a pyramid. There's no question when you look at it that it is this pyramid.
I made a picture and posted it then, right behind me, the shape of the silhouette, and that tagline I chose was, "There are no pyramids in Bosnia."
Yeah, right. Like, just turn around, don't look at it. Yeah, exactly.
And how did you feel when you went inside? Did you go inside the I'm not sure how to call it. It's not catacombs, but like this underground entrance. Did you go inside?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and it was cool. I don't know. I mean, it was interesting. Like, my brother liked it. I guess I was interested in how my brother and my dad felt. And like, my dad was doing well, my brother was doing well. And like,
how did you feel the air like? Because what they claim is that there's high ion concentration. I would say people don't repeatedly come back to receive benefit if there's nothing there. Of course, you're in nature overall. It's a nice spot overall. But I would say interesting that the temperature was stable inside in the
Yeah,
underground,
and the fact
and
that
it
the
felt
air is
easy to breathe.
purified.
It felt easy to breathe for sure. So at the
Right.
very least, you have very clean air there, which in itself can at
That's
the
the
very
thing.
least
Like
have
the
detox
fact that the
benefits.
air is ionized doesn't really like normal. Like okay, whatever that means. But really, what it does is that makes the air easier to breathe. So the fact that that's happening is really interesting, at all. Like, and the fact that there's ceramics that are found there, and essentially like plastic ceramic, which is a unnatural thing to find. And yeah, the use of concrete, but 10,000 or more years old or whatever, because there's plant mass that you're finding in between it. So it's interesting because it's something, and it's just so silly because it's like, well, maybe it's not a pyramid, so let's not look into it, as opposed to, well, what is it? Like they're basically trying to figure out how to ignore an elephant in the room. It's just like this. Well, it's a triple size thing, bro. Like, what are you gonna do? It's like it's a hamburger in the middle of Bosnia, so like handle it. But no.
Have a look at Telegram, Rafael. I sent you the picture. Maybe you can share
Raph,
it.
you might be able to share it, yeah.
I'll find a way. Give me a moment.
Maybe I can send them to you, and then.
Well, while you do that, I'll pull up another picture of this freaking castle. How about that? And maybe like. There we go.
Yeah. Next one. That's the one, exactly.
Oh, wow. It's like a unicorn horn.
Go to the next one.
And it's like hidden from everybody.
Next one.
Dang. Yes. That's crazy.
If you zoom on that. Zoom more, like go really close to it. Exactly. So that color is like an oxidated copper.
Nice. So this is copper, you thinking?
This is no. This is the color of oxidated copper. So it's
but what is the material? Is the material copper, or what do we know this is?
That's something that has copper inside. So I don't know what it is, but the color of the oxidation, it's what I understand as a normal person.
Yeah, it could be
like not being a scientist. I see that because I have copper home or bronze, and when it oxidates, it gets to that color. This is the most natural color of oxidated copper.
Yeah, of course.
So this is obvious to my eyes, not being a scientist.
Right, and it's huge. It's a huge.
It's something conductive. I mean, that it has for sure been used for electricity or something. I don't know. It's just that I'm not saying how it is. I'm just saying that I suppose it has been used for maybe for weather.
Right, it's a cloud buster.
check the weather.
Yeah, the weather forecast. And why did you take I mean, why? It looks cool, but what do you suppose this is? Or does this look new, old, or?
I took a picture of that because it looks quite nice. I could not say what that is. Like, it doesn't look like someone was supposed to be sitting there, but maybe it had a function. So I took a picture of that because I found it so weirdly interesting. So it looks
like an art project.
An art project, yeah, of course.
No, I mean the pattern looks fascinating, and irregular. So
I loved it. That's why I made a picture of it, because these stones are in perfect condition still today.
Well,
like the
which would of
shapes of.
course raise the other question is when was maybe or parts of this maybe just recently put there? Is there any
Oh, you mean the? I have nothing to say on that. I don't know.
hmm.
I can look at the stones, and they they look old, but how old I can't say. I mean, you see the different qualities of the two stones we have already here. The very left one, there are two different qualities of stones, but I cannot say that this stone is older than the other one. But I can see that the one is a marmor-like stone, and the one on the other one might be a granite kind of stone. But I'm like far away from knowing what's going on with stones.
Yeah, well, me too. I can just ask. So let's see. Is there
We
if
have we
there's
have to go. We have to go to Joe Rogan's last podcast. Graham Hancock speaks 4 hours with archaeologists, and they debate about ancient stuff and how old things are. So that's we have to ask these guys.
yeah, well, I'm sure they debate about it.
4 hours.
Yes. Okay, so this was the just to remind everyone, which temple was this? Just because only now
This
short.
is the Apollo temple at the um, Delphi.
Hmm.
These are just a few pictures from the upper temple. There is Athena's temple underneath the street, and then above that there is also a little theater.
All right. Mm-hmm. Can we see
And
this on the pictures? And I'll maybe hear a little bit.
I
Or
will. This is the Apollo temple. That's
Hmm.
actually this is the part on the right where the temple was, and the oracle would go in and communicate. Or that's the part. I mean, I have just sent you some pictures in order to see this unicorn style thing. I can, of course, send some more that make the whole place a bit more clearer.
Yes, and just to point one thing out, because this is always the question now, which of these ancient sites maybe have been reconstructed recently, or why would someone do that? I can just see there's lots of tourists here, but main question would be now, or part of the question, is there any entrance fee to come here or no?
Well,
Uh,
even the government would be paying
there
for.
is an entrance fee, but I was there on a day that there was free.
Dude,
So
like, so in Spain, a lot of this stuff. Sorry, my mic's over here. Spain, a lot of that stuff is like, gratuitous. Like, you can go on the house, but what it means is that the taxes are charged of the citizens that have to go towards those things. So that way, it's like if you go or not go, you have to pay for the upkeep of those things.
well,
That's basically even just
in
a
Greece,
cultural value. Why would people travel unless they would hear of whatever supposed monument or ancient site? Not saying they don't exist or whatever, just saying that that's a business as well, of course.
we have a Sunday, some Sundays in the year that the entrance for all the museums are free.
Nice. But again, because there's probably taxes that pay for those things as well, right? So if they can't collect taxes trustworthy, why they'll try to make collections of tariffs at roads or at museums. Like in Florida, they don't have the capacity to tax everyone the same way they can tax people in like a Midwestern state where they know everyone's like living there per se the same way. So they have taxes on the road systems that are far more intricate than they have most other states. And in certain places, they have those same things in the Midwest, like in Chicago, right? Chicago and in Illinois, they have like weird private road tariff systems that you have to pay to enter.
I mean, I have to say, I only took one single trip across the US from Boston to California. And I mean, still comparatively, I think there were quite a few areas where we had to pay extra tolls.
Yeah, if you don't,
Easy Pass or whatever it's called, and so
you're
on.
not
And
careful. There's ways to get around it. Like you don't have. There are roads. Like we do have roads that are tax paid, DMV, Department of Transportation, actually, right? But the point is, most of the United States, they figured out ways of charging people because they can't be sure they're getting tax money, or maybe it's just another way to get money. Because the other thing is like, who was that guy in New York? There's a dude in New York who figured that out. That he was like, all right, I'm gonna have like the Department of transportation build these bridges, and then I'll collect the tariff from those bridges, and that'll be a separate tax. And he was making more money because he didn't have to give any of that money to anything else. It was all going directly to his department, and he had no oversight. So he could use that money to like bribe the mayors and like pay for the next mayor, you know, and he like ran New York City through transportation.
Yeah, I mean, it even cost like $30 just to get from New York to New Jersey or something like this, even back then. Maybe not 30, but $10.
Yeah, I mean, driving on
Complete
the East
nightmare.
Coast. That is interesting that driving on the East Coast has become like almost completely insane. Like you can do it like in certain states is like pretty easy actually, like Virginia and things like that. But if you're just go through any city, you wouldn't want to do that. Like so you would just take a train. And that's cool because you don't get to do that everywhere else. Like you don't really in the United States, that is to say, get to use trains everywhere like Europe. And it feels like there's almost infrastructure for trains on the East Coast. Like they're trying to like build that up. But it's interesting how they trade it. It's like, well, now you can't have cars because we have the trains. I don't know.
I've sent you some more pictures.
Yes,
if you
I'll
are
pull them up.
interested.
I'll pull them up.
Are you using which version of is this Ubuntu or which is your OS?
This is Ubuntu, the last long time support version, and this is Gthumb. But give me a second, I'll load the pictures first. You have to play some music or something in between. No, I'll be fast. One moment.
Here's this one. This one's good. You can do this in stereo. Hold on.
Nice.
You do realize, Andreas, you're playing AI music to an actual music producer, right?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So now it's all mixed up, the pictures, but we should have the other ones too. So this is interesting.
Yeah, I
And
made
what's
some
the
nice
other thing?
pictures for you guys. Yeah, I was also thinking of you when I was taking these pictures, Rafael. I wanted to show you all that stuff. That's why I was taking some nice, beautiful pictures. Yeah.
Wow.
The carvings there are quite nice, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so much detail for things that go up so high. Well, what I can see here, there are two different stones. You know, the thing on the bottom and the thing on the top. They have different aging. Can you see that?
Yeah. So do you think that I mean, obviously, like they're putting things back together in front of you. They want you to see, like, this is what is left of the ruins of Atlantis, right?
No, they recreate a lot of stuff. That's normal. They do, for example, some things out of concrete or some composite stuff. They do it on purpose so that it looks beautiful. They do it today as well. So, and that's it's very obvious, and they don't hide it. Yeah.
But can you tell if that was that? Can you tell if this is like somehow?
I can only tell what I see. That's all. I mean, and when you're there, you're so overwhelmed from the scenery there is amazing. I mean, you can't just always all the time look there and there how beautiful it is. And then there are tourists there, so it's you got to go there when there's not so busy, not so many people.
More wall.
Yes, more wall. I was always interested into the joints and look at the stones, how they been put together.
I mean, isn't there supposedly, either tell me if I'm dreaming or not, but some type of a self-healing concrete or something they figured out, or that may even have been used before as well, or they claim at least that it has some plasticity to it or some self-regeneration through friction.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah.
How big are those stones?
Not that big. Like underneath your knee would be the height.
And what are they used for? Those were for the wall we were looking
These
at.
are the lower temple. If you go to the next picture, you will see one more. I think I have also sent you the temple of Athena. Oh, this is still Apollo. This is still upstairs. Yeah, exactly. Go on back.
This is important. The cat.
This is the keeper of the place. Exactly. Yeah, this is the temple of Athena, and that's all the stones all around been put. So yeah, in order to figure out, I mean, everything is torn down. I mean, there's not much to see. So even if you see the three things standing over there, if you zoom inside, you will see that the white part is the newer part that's built now, and the black part, the gray part of the three columns, its sides used to be. Exactly. This has been rebuilt in order to make it stand there again.
Interesting. I mean, I love how it's just like, it seems very mythical. You've got this crazy circle for some sort of ritual, right? Like
This
a
is
portal.
Athena's temple, exactly. And Apollo's temple was upstairs afterwards. So you have to cross the road to go from the one temple to the other one. And the view is magnificent. I mean, I think it must have been amazing there. I was dreaming about spaceships flying there and dropping by like yachts we have today, and stopping there for a super duper drink with a lot of star magic in there.
So this could be a clue. Here we have script.
Yeah.
What is this officially?
Yeah, it's just ancient Greek, but I don't know what it is. I just took pictures of all the walls with letters on because I just found them fascinating.
Yeah. So how far is modern Greek? I haven't really looked into that. Like, how far is modern Greek related at all to
You cannot understand. Maybe you will get some phrases, and we do use some words and roots in the New Greek.
but it's like English and Beowulf's Old English or something. Like, we're so completely, you could not understand Old English from New
You
English.
cannot understand old ancient Greek. You might get some words, but that's it. Yeah, I think yeah, exactly. You can continue. These were some things I couldn't figure out what they were, so I was just making picture of those
Left
things.
over from the construction site.
Yeah.
Okay, nice to have a steel. I mean, should there not be a way to determine how long ago this was actually engraved? With somehow?
I mean, listen, this thing stands out and still goes. Whether where it wears off. If it rains tomorrow, it will be still there standing. So I for sure the archaeologists have figured that out, but I could not say no that thing is 1,000 years old or 2,000 years old.
Sorry, I'm not really expecting you to give me an answer. I'm just asking.
Sorry, I
Because
thought you want me to tell me the
No, I
date
do.
and
I would
time.
love to. Well, maybe you know
It
for
was
some. Yeah,
And
maybe
six
it
Thursday. It was 6 on a Thursday.
doesn't matter exactly. It doesn't matter the year. Just tell me the time of day it was. Did it at
Yeah,
night or at day? I'm interested in the artistic process.
it looks like a night work. He did it at night.
Yeah. So what is this? This is a piece of
Just a part. Yeah, I was just taking pictures of things like they
is
would
it
have a nice
stone?
shape.
Looks like between stone and wood or petrified wood. What could
It
this be?
looks like it's like a marmor and stone.
Yeah,
Because
stone looks like that when it gets old.
it's partly carved and partly raw.
More wall?
Yeah, look at that. This is like do you see the joints here? These are the ancient joints that you are going to find in the old in the Central America or stuff. See, that's different. That's you don't find that up there in the other part of the
Right.
continent.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
and where's the other place? Malta. So there's a couple places that have that megalithic rock perfect
They've used a
slice.
different method here to build their stuff.
Yeah. And
And
above,
normally
and you
they
can see that above is completely different.
normally I mean, as far as I've seen till now, they're using this kind of techniques when they are building fences or like surroundings walls, surrounding walls. Okay, the top stones have been put out afterwards
Can you
from
imagine though? Also,
people.
like, what if it was just there's no Tetris, there's no video games, there's no TV, so
That's what
this
you do all day.
you're like really in. You're like, dude, like when someone sees my wall, they're gonna be like, ladies are gonna love this wall.
Exactly.
Like,
In 1,000 years, they're still gonna fall in love with me.
like Peggy Sue, take any card, pick a card, pick any
I
card,
think
try to
that
stick a card in
that's
between
how
the
it
wall.
was actually, because that's how could people show off back in the days. They didn't have shiny cars and new wheels. They were building houses and weapons and yeah.
Wow, yeah, but look at that. Like that's so much like the Machu Picchu
Look at the
stones.
cut, you know. You look at the
Right.
cut of the thing. It's perfect.
And yet, perfect at that angle so that it connects perfectly. Yeah.
And the beauty down there. Yeah.
Okay, that's it, I
Exactly.
think.
How old is that thing? Yeah, like this is the question. How old are those things? That
Yeah,
because they have been building things, you know, with the passing of the time, building, rebuilding, things fall down. They like we renovate things today, you know, they were renovating things back in the times too. So it's really hard to say to figure out the age of something. Um, I think the best way to figure out something and to find the remote viewer, like let's call Mr. Ingos one, the best one, right? And go back in time and he can tell us. I mean, I would trust this guy more than a scientist.
yeah. I mean, with respect to science and all that they say about
What isn't science?
gender and things. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like this idea of building systems that were united around the world at some point. Certain giant stone structures that have perfect connection. It seems like an interesting thing that everyone's doing certain things for a while and then nobody does them again.
Have you watched the series, the cartoon series Transformers?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do like Transformers.
There is an episode where they have insects, and the insects are robot, and they build things like in insectibots or whatever they call them.
Beast Wars. Was
No,
that
insects, trans insect boats.
Insecticons? Is that the one? Insecticons.
Exactly. So there is a a, there is a movie with these things, and they build things so fast. They build buildings. They rebuild everything. They are so fast at creating cities. It's amazing. I find that the Transformers movie it's very similar to the Anunnaki story, where the one family and the other family are fighting. You know, the Autobots, and Prime says that we have to respect the Earth and stuff, and that's Enki and Poseidon, and Enlil is the bad guy in purple.
Nanobots are for real. That's definitely a thing.
So, and I find their sayings and their the text in the Transformers movies, it's like one to one reality.
Plus, yeah,
They're
more than meets the eye.
they're doing exactly on the planet what they're doing today. They're here to take resources and terraform the planet. That's what they're doing. They're doing weather control, weather disaster. They're terraforming the planet, and there are two families that are fighting each other. the Autobots and the Decepticons.
Did you watch that movie, The Arrival, with Charlie Sheen?
I haven't watched movies since the Avatar, the first movie, so I have no clue.
This one's 1996. It's an old movie, but you should definitely.
Yes, I think I've seen it. Yeah, if it's that old, I think I've seen it. Yeah,
It's
The
pretty-
Arrival.
I like that one with the aliens and the temple, or the the underground factory. I
Yeah.
guess with radio music.
I haven't watched movies for ages. I haven't even seen the Avatar 2. I have to see that.
I really don't care, and I was trying so hard. Like I haven't watched it through either, and I really want to care, and I might be able to now because I like software and
Just
Houdini
start
is
skipping through it if you don't
no.
like. That's
So
what I do now. When stuff gets too
procedural.
boring, I'm like, oh, nothing happens. Like whatever regular Disney formula, I'm just skip.
So I
Waste of
more
time.
or less kind of know how to use Houdini software, which is this crazy, not that lady, Houdini SF, SX, what's his SF, FX? Was it FX? Is that right? No. Was it FX, something like that. Whatever. Houdini. Greatest software ever made, right? This is the software that everyone's always like, whoa, how do they do it? And everything you've ever asked for the last 20 years has been Houdini, Houdini procedural modeling of things. Oh, it's so beautiful. That makes you kind of care, right? I almost care enough to watch the freaking movie now. Because I was like, okay, well, they tricked John Cameron into spending hundreds of millions of dollars. They paid this team so much money that they basically give the software away for free now. So they don't even care, and nobody can compete with them and make better software. So it's just so beautiful. Look at that. I don't know. It's hard to understand. Avatar is cool because it's a cartoon, right? Avatar is kind of like South Park. There's not a lot of difference if you think about it. It's the same thing. I like that about Avatar.
It scares. You can't figure out anymore what's true and what's not true. That's really scary.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. What's real? But I guess that what matters about what's real. What's you know what I mean? This is better than real. This is able.
What it also shows you is that if the story and the meaning is questionable, irrelevant, or strenuous or something, it doesn't matter how good the CGI is. That was at least my experience when I was skipping through it. So yeah.
I felt bad also. They made a video game. It was $100 and some odd, and nobody wants to play it because it's boring. Nobody cares about any of these things because there's nothing interesting or engaging about it at all. Because it doesn't put you in the play. It doesn't emulate what your imagination does. It doesn't allow you to use mechanics that you have a hard time using in real life. If you wanted to climb a mountain or something like that, would you really do it in a video game? Can a video game offer the experience of a hike yet properly? I mean, if it can't offer the experience of a hike, how is it supposed to offer an open world? It's just crazy. I don't know. I just feel like nobody understands that still.
Well, but then again, since we don't have an open world here, I understand why people wish to simulate it on their computers.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like there's not enough processing power for everyone to be out in the map at the same time. So they just make tedious excuses to keep people.
You mean in real world, so people have to go to the cubicle where they can be instanced and unlock the mainframe by everyone using an airplane at the same time.
The cost of running and processing your life is, not worth it to the simulation. So it just puts you in a box, and you should probably do something about that. You know what I mean?
I like that idea.
I don't know. Well, yeah. Do you have more things you wanted to share, or also Raph, do you have things that you wanted to link up, you wanted to present as well?
Let's see. So first I'd like to ask George, is there anything, also because you definitely more than me have some idea about electronics and so on, is there anything, I don't know, current or recent or anything interesting that you find, or anything you find fascinating or worthwhile to mention, whether it's about ancient stuff or whether it's something new, just to make sure?
I haven't gotten an update lately of what's going on. Yeah, I've been playing around with the idea of portals, of places or doors that used to be um, printed into places and used as portals. Like is it in Cambodia or where is it? Or in India? There's a whole castle printed, uh, like an engraved. Whole city is engraved at a piece of stone, and there are also lots of like, for example, if you go to the pyramid, to the Egypt, there's also a monument there what is engraved on the wall. And then they were doing things on walls, and they were using technologies maybe to yeah to be able to pass through other dimensions and stuff. This is too movie like thinking, but I was I that's you asked, and this is what I just had in my mind lately. That's all.
Mm.
No, I have just done some crazy thoughts about that stuff, but I love the looks of all the monuments, and when I think that they are being made with kind of a laser technology.
Well, what was supposedly measured, and you probably know more about, is the whole Michael Tellinger thing. I guess, Andreas, you know about him, right? Michael Tellinger. Have you heard about
Yeah,
this
of
guy?
course. Yeah.
Right, right, right.
I don't think
And I mean, they are measuring something inside these stone circles, right? If their measurements are correct. But here it's just like with the Bosnian pyramids, and at least from everything I could gather from the Bosnian pyramids or from
They
Dr.
do,
Semir,
yes.
it seems he is honest in his pursuit of knowledge about this. And he's one of the few guys, if what they say is correct, who's inviting scientists from all different areas and all over the world to be like, okay, bring your equipment, make your measurement, which is how I think it should be done. So yeah, assuming again Michael Tellinger is also measuring stuff there, so there is some connection, but yeah, apparently we haven't figured it out yet between the macro and the micro, right? Because we know how microelectronics work, but on the large scale, are all the components are too broken that we can't figure it out yet, maybe.
Some electromagnetic activity is going on there. It's what I remember he said lastly, that all these circles there have been used extensively uh, to transfer things. There were like portals sending things up and down to the ninth planet when he was around the corner.
To what? So it's like an
To the
interdimensional.
ninth planet.
Okay, that's what he says.
Well, that's what I assume. He says that they were sending gold out to their big spaceships. That's, I think, what he said. But I said that they were sending it to the ninth planet, the home of the Anunnaki.
Okay, all right, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So it's actually the same.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of these realms or these gods, I mean, do you relate it to the Greek mythology more? Because I think it's interesting how people they're like, oh, I'm a scientist and I believe in Jupiter. It's like,
No, well, these guys,
Dude.
they have named everything. Supposedly they gave us our calendar, our numbers, and they have named everything with their names. They have done big work here on the planet with running everything. So they named everything after their names. So the Greek mythology is actually just a chapter of their
Right.
activities here, and they have rebranded their stuff many times. So the same way that a company changes name because of rumors or some reasons, financial reasons, the same way they do rename stuff. Tartaria building things again, so on top of other buildings, or building new things again, like reshaping history. It's nothing new. The checkerboard, the black and white checkerboard, means that, and it's in every Masonic
Right.
picture. It means they have the power to change white to black and black to white. That's the meaning of it, at least as far as I've heard. It's a technique they have, and they're telling you that we're putting the rules here. We're changing whenever we want, black to white and white to black.
Fair and square.
Yeah, the
So yeah,
checkerboard.
there's I have a few things to present, but I'd save them for another show. The one thing I do want to show to both of you, though, I just posted in a private chat. I saw this meme online about supposedly the vowels in ancient Hebrew and ancient something else ancient, Hebrew and what else? Greek, maybe even. That supposedly, if you sound them, they create these nice cymatic patterns.
I
Of
saw
course
it.
now,
You sent it to me. I saw it.
right. Of course, now I'd like to correlate with, what is the actual original language or whatever. But okay, vocals, they would probably be pretty basic sounds. So I could well imagine that. And anyhow, I just wanted to point out, because I had never really maybe even done proper research, and there are actually books literally even called cymatics. And apparently this guy, okay, this is from 2001 only, so it's quite recent. Yeah, to anyone who likes cymatics, maybe worthwhile checking out. I plan to at least skim through it myself as well at some point,
It's
because I think
exactly
also
my thing. I love it. Yeah.
that's one of the intersecting things where also, again, we can at least do a little bit of our own experiments and then try to extrapolate or maybe understand why certain things are shaped a certain way, all of that.
I've heard a podcast from Cryon 5 to 7 years ago, and he was saying that Hebrew language is the one closest to God. And for me, God is a frequency explained, like it's a state of being. So if a letter or a tone create a shape, it's it's similar to the flower, to the shape of the vibration of something. It gives a geometrical DNA of aspect of life. So you have a language, you communicate, you express emotions. It's a code. So if that happens with the Hebrew language and it does come close to the creation, it makes sense. The Greek language, the Greek ancient language, is a language of light, they say. Um, it's heavy on letters that vibrate your forehead. So yeah, all these techniques are quite famous. That frequencies and light, yeah, using the same frequencies that the sun gives us to pronounce words and say stuff. Yeah, like I said, a Cryon podcast. I still remember. It's more than 7 years I've heard about it. That the Hebrew language is the closest, and that the programmers one day will figure it out, and we'll start programming with the Hebrew language programs that are more efficient for the computers. That was his comment, and I think it's quite interesting to have heard about it since more than 7 years.
Yeah, so of course, with the whole David Ewing Jr. caveat, I'd now have to say, who knows what is what, and or put it differently, what is the label we are putting upon any language or any supposed scripture? Because why I mentioned also it is the vowels, right? So in German, at least, it would be like a, e, or something like this. So no matter what we now say, oh, it's this language or this language, probably these are just very basic sounds that are being used that maybe occur in many different languages. Anyhow, yeah. I think Andreas will be right back. Meanwhile, I thought we can briefly take a look at this. Yeah, and this is even on archive.org, so nothing, I don't know, secret or anything, and quite a recent book, and I hope to check it out soon. But yeah, these patterns are always, I think they are aesthetically appealing.
It kind of reminds me writing down music in the notes. So this is a way to figure out a language using the vowels and all the letters speaking them out and then writing down their shape and
Can you
figuring
say
out.
it again? How do you mean?
Like when in the music you have the notes, and
Right,
you
right.
know you have, and then you have the 5 lines, and then on the 5 lines you put the dots
Right.
on the notes, and then you read music. So now you have here the different shapes, and then you take a shape to picture a letter. So it's also like a musical thing.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
You're creating a language, but a real language through the shape of every letter that it creates.
Right. So this would be the best thing if we would figure out, or interesting thing, what shape does a certain sound make, and then actually use that shape
Exactly.
as a script.
So
But
you
this is
make
not
an
usually
you want
being
to create
done like this.
a new language, for example,
Yeah.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
you say oh, and then you see the
Right.
shape of the O, and then you take from the geometrical patterns of it, you take it and you write it like this.
Yeah. I like the idea. Do you know if anyone ever done that? No, right?
Let's create our own language and
Yeah.
communicate with each other.
I think it's time.
That would be actually quite smart to create our own language, our own programs, everything. Nobody's able to hack us. Only we hack each other.
Yeah. I think that
A human
sounds like
language. Is there actually? Yeah, there are so many languages on the planet. But
so many languages, and apparently all of them related in very strange ways. Yes.
yeah,
Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up? I think Andreas probably stepped out for a second because to do
I'm
something.
good. I'm good for today. I was kind of a bit unprepared, but still we had some fun.
Of course, it's not a problem. And yeah, thank you for showing these pictures. Really interesting. And yeah, maybe hopefully sometime
They
we'll
are
figure out
they are
when.
more than interesting. The thing is that it is a bit far away from me, and I would love to go again there, and to go there with a person a tourist guide that shows you and tells you stories about all these things, that he's been living there all his life. So that would be interesting to hear from him, the story of the ancient space there. So,
Yeah, to
and if
both maybe hear what the official story is, or if it's a really cool guide, maybe hear what else he heard, or maybe he knows whatever. 30 years ago, some construction workers came and they added this part or something. I mean,
well,
part of
that
it we
I
could
think
see.
this one you will ask him that when you come and we go together to Delphi, because this is a trip worth doing.
Awesome, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing a part of that exploration with us. Thanks, chat. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Yeah.
Take
Thank you.
care.